Hi everyone, today is March 24th and it is the 43rd anniversary of the martyrdom of Archbishop Oscar Romero of El Salvador, who was born in the year 1917, and in 1977 he was named Archbishop of San Salvador in El Salvador. And many priests first viewed him as a pious and relatively conservative and bookish man who would be counted on not to make waves in the civil strife that was then plaguing the country of El Salvador. No one could have predicted that just in 3 short years, Archbishop Romero would be renowned as the outstanding embodiment of the prophetic church. He was called a voice for the voiceless, or as one theologian called him, the gospel of El Salvador. Archbishop Romero was courageous in standing up against the wealthy oligarchy and the military powers that supported their rule in El Salvador, standing on the side of the majority of poor people in El Salvador whose rights were violated by those who profited off of them. And Archbishop Romero stood up for them. And there was, in the midst of terrible violence against the poor in El Salvador. So much so that Archbishop Romero, who gave weekly radio broadcasts and really became the conscience of the nation, the day before he died, March 23rd, 1980, this is what his message was to the members of the military. He said, "We are your people. The peasants you kill are your own brothers and sisters. When you hear the voice of the man commanding you to kill, remember instead the voice of God. You shall not kill. In the name of God, in the name of our tormented people whose cries rise up to heaven, I beseech you, I beg you, I command you, stop the repression." And it was the next day, on this day in 1980, when Archbishop Romero was celebrating Mass in the chapel of the Carmelite Sisters Cancer Hospital, where he lived, that he was shot at the altar with a bullet that pierced his heart, and he died instantly. He was the first bishop to be martyred at the altar since St. Thomas Becket in England in the 12th century. Archbishop Romero was immediately acclaimed by the people of El Salvador as a martyr and a saint. And he officially was canonized a saint by Pope Francis on October 14th in the year 2018. Archbishop Romero is the first Salvadoran to be canonized a saint. And he said once, "I rejoice, brothers and sisters, that our church is persecuted precisely for its preferential option for the poor and for seeking to become incarnate in the interests of the poor. How sad it would be in a country where such horrible murders are being committed if there were no priests among the victims." It was only 9 months after that the violence continued to escalate, especially against the church, which was always taking the side of the poor. Just 9 months after Archbishop Romero was murdered at the altar, 4 American female missionaries, 2 Maryknoll sisters, an Ursuline nun, and a Catholic lay missionary, were raped and murdered by the same forces that killed Archbishop Romero. That was just 9 months later. And almost a year to the month after that, after the 4 women were raped and murdered, was the horrible massacre of the innocent civilians in El Mozote in El Salvador by the military. 811 civilians were massacred. That is where I went on mission, where you all sent me on mission in December. If you want to learn more about Archbishop Romero, come to Soup with Love today. It begins at 11:30. Come and get a great Lenten soup supper, and I'll be saying more about the story of Archbishop Romero. Also, tonight the Knights of Columbus are doing a fish fry at 5:30. That will be followed by Stations of the Cross that I will lead in the church at 7. Also on Sunday we will have Adult Sunday School at 9:15 in the meeting room on Sunday morning between the Masses. And also too, another opportunity for the Sacrament of Reconciliation as Lent is moving closer to Easter. On Tuesday night at Francis de Sales Church in Matthews, there will be a Lenten penance service where we will gather together to listen to the Word of God and pray together. And then there will be a few of us priests available for individual confession and absolution. That'll be on Tuesday night at the Church of Francis de Sales in Matthews County at 7 p.m. So, see you all in church.